What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mar B, and you're tuned in to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
DD's Daiquiris is your #1 supplier of premium daiquiri mixes. You will love the taste of our classic margarita and signature strawberry mixes. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at DD's Daiquiris. DD is spelled DEEDEE. You can also find us at www.dd'sdaiquiris.com. DD's Daiquiris, giving good vibes to good people, one good drink at a time.
More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services offers individual and relationship counseling as well as mediation services to the community. At More Grace, healthy partnerships are valuable and beneficial. Our approach to relationship counseling is through a culturally relevant systems perspective. More Grace offers services virtually for people living in the state of Missouri. Please visit the website www.moregracecounseling.com for more information about our approach to counseling. More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services, where we offer more grace and more healing.
Please buy the new book by Arika Nicole Moore, Diabolical Tales of Woe. Diabolical Tales of Woe is a thrilling collection of short horror stories that leave you in an excited trepidation to see what will happen next. Prepare to face one horrific encounter after the next in this captivating novel. You can find this book on Amazon in the Kindle and paperback version. That is Diabolical Tales of Woe by Arika Nicole Moore.
I got to kick this thing off. Yeah. Can I kick it off? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on the no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. You can find the show on YouTube at Man Listen. Please subscribe to the show so you'll be notified when we air a new episode. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. C, what's up with you?
Hey, what's good?
All good, all good. Lab, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, doing good. So we down one person today. You know, Rika had a death in the family, so we want to send all our love and positive energy to her and her family. You know, we'll catch you on the next show. So on today's topic, we're going to talk about a subject that was sparked by Andrew Gillum. For those of you who don't know, Andrew came out as bisexual. Now, this was all sparked by a controversy when he was found basically like passed out with, you know, a bunch of pill bottles and a couple of gentlemen in a hotel room. And I'll let you all look on the internet so you can see all the other, you know, sordid details of the scene when the photos were taken. But Andrew Gillum, for those who don't know, he was a promising political candidate in the Democratic Party, former mayor of Tallahassee, Florida. He came real close to winning the governor position in the state of Florida, and he was definitely a rising star in the Democratic Party until this incident happened. So it sparked a lot of conversation about, is his political career over? And can a man who identifies as gay or bisexual really thrive in politics with the Black community? So today's topic, is the Black community more accepting of the LGBTQIA plus community? Or are we still somewhat closed-minded when it comes to people who identify with that community? To talk about that subject, I have one of the smartest people I know to help us talk about this in an intelligent way, Mr. Datheon Sturgis. Datheon, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, cousin. How you doing?
Doing good. Well, you gave up the goods. Full disclosure, Datheon is my cousin. So, but you know, I still mean what I say in terms of him being, you know, smart and one of the most intelligent people I know. But we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I wanted to talk about the term gay, lesbian, bisexual. In the recent years, I was following a gentleman. His name is Cleo Monango, and he came up with the term SGL. Well, I don't know if he really came up with the term, but he really made it more popular for me, the term SGL, same gender loving. And the reason behind that was because he said there was a lot of institutional racism in the LGBTQIA community that he didn't really want to identify with. And I saw a few other people that identified in that way. So Datheon, I mean, obviously we have you on the show and you are a same gender loving man. How do you identify? Do you identify as SGL or do you identify as a gay man? You know, let us know what a young Black man like yourself, how do you identify?
So myself personally, I identify as gay, only because it took me so long to lean into that part of myself that I'm comfortable with that and I want to embrace that piece. And again, too, because I do a lot of work in justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, I try to kind of leave gender out of things because, you know, gender really is a construct and just you can be more than same gender loving, if that makes sense. Not to complicate things, but you know, that might be another topic for another day. But you know, I try to leave gender out of a lot of things.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and you talked about complicating things. I think one of the things that make this conversation difficult for some people is because they don't understand and don't really try to open their mind up to understand people that identify in a different way. Because, you know, when it first started, it was, you know, LGBT, and then it became LGBTQ, and then you added the I, then you added the A, then you know you added the plus, and people were just like, man, I'm confused. I don't know what is what, and you know there was a lot of resistance because of that. But you know, I prefer the term SGL. That's just me. When I refer to people who are, you know, gay or lesbian, just because I respect that there is some racism in the gay community. You look at that, and the reason why I feel comfortable with saying that is because you look at the numbers in terms of HIV and how it affects our Black men versus how it affects other communities, and I feel that is driven strictly by racism.
Yeah, so a lot of times when I'm doing my research, I actually use MSM, so just to make it a little bit more medical, men who have sex with men.
Okay.
You know, because some people just don't want to have a label, you know.
Yeah.
They don't want to be SGL, they don't want to be gay, they don't want to be bi, but you are having sex with men. So a term that's becoming more popular, like in the literature and research, is MSM, men who have sex with men. As far as, you know, kind of like what people call the alphabet soup of LGBTQIA plus, I think it's more so driven in inclusivity, that some people just want to be seen and want to be included. Because, you know, even like in our culture, there's a culture of erasure where, you know, they will erase history, erase who we are. That's the same thing in this subculture, really. So I think it's just I want to be seen. And if I'm seen, then maybe I can be heard too. So, you know, and again, I want to put that out there that I know that everyone is not a monolithic type of, you know, this is not a monolithic community. So I'm just talking from my lived experience and my personal opinions. So I'm not trying to represent the entire community.
Yeah. Well, before we get going, before we bring in the crew to ask questions, tell people your background, because you talked about, you know, your approach to things, and you know, you talked about it from a very scientific approach. Tell people your background so they understand where you're coming from.
So I'm a professor at a Research One institution, and I also practice family medicine. So I do view things from the lens of kind of health disparities, social justice, and looking at racial discrimination as well. So, you know, I can look at things from various lenses, and I like to look at things through various lenses because I know that everyone's experience it's not the next person's experience. So I do look at things from kind of like a scientific standpoint. So that's my background.
I think the way you kind of explained it helped answer the question for me. How you said that people just want to be seen, and so if they're seen, they feel like they're heard. Because I think myself, when they started kept adding the letters, I'm like, I can't keep up. And then it's really hard, even once you like learn all the letters, to even know what offends some people and what doesn't. Just for example, I have two friends, two really good friends. They both identify as lesbian. One of them goes with like the new terms where they have even like broken down the different types of lesbians. And then our other friends just like, oh, I don't want to learn any of that new stuff. I'm just old school. I'm just this and that. So it's really hard. But I get what you're saying. The people that identify those different ways, whether they're new terms or new letters, they just want to be, included. So it makes sense.
I'll piggyback on that too. I'm one that I'm kind of like you, see. I don't know what all the letters mean. I'm still learning to this day. Like seriously, I think it was maybe last year or something. I really didn't understand what the difference straight up between a transsexual and somebody that's like post-op. I really had no clue. And so I'm continuing to learn too. So
yeah, and I think it's important that we try to understand, because one of the things that I saw was that people were like, I don't understand, and it's confusing, so I'm just going to give up and I'm not going to recognize it. And I think that's dangerous, because you begin to dismiss people and recognize that, these are real people, man, and they deserve to be identified how they want to be identified. I'll tell my story. Growing up, football player, in a lot of male circles, I'll be the first to admit I said a lot of inappropriate things about, gay and lesbian people. And it never really came from a place of hate or me not, liking them or anything, but it's just kind of something that we did. And as I got older and, I have, not just Dathon, but a few other cousins who are gay and lesbian. My brother identifies as gay, and it really changed my perspective, because, I look at it as, I'd be damned if somebody did any harm to or mistreated one of my family members or tried to dismiss them. So I really don't want to do that to anybody else. So it really changed how I approach this topic. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because when we look at racism and we talk about the Black community, there is this prevailing thought that the Black community is considered homophobic, and that we don't really include and respect those who are same-gender loving, LGBTQIA, however you want to call it. Me personally, I don't really agree with that, because I remember growing up, we knew the people who, he's like, they may not, be, hetero like us, and, they may have been jokes, but I never thought that we, purposely try to do them harm or exclude them or anything like that. But again, that's coming from a man who was heterosexual. So Dathon, in your perspective, from your personal perspective, do you think the Black community has progressed when it comes to accepting, same gender loving LGBTQI people?
So, I try to look at it from a broad view, but I'm just going to speak personally right now. So, you know me, and I'm a very confident person, and I demand respect. If you don't give it to me, then we don't need to really be in the same circle. So I don't know if that's why people respect me, because I can take you or leave you. Because when people look at me, I don't want you to think what I'm doing in the bedroom or who I'm having sex with. Like, that should not be the first thing that crosses your mind. It should be right. Like, is this a good person? What is he doing in the community? Is he loved by his family and friends? Those sorts of things. Like, if that's the first thing you're thinking of when you see me, then we probably shouldn't have a relationship. But I'll just say, growing up, same thing, with you, Marvin, from small town. And of course, I heard all kind of stuff about gay people. They would call them punks and sissies and the F word and everything else. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something bad. or I perceived it as bad. And I remember being about 5 years old, and I think one of my uncles called me a punk or something like that. And I just was like, I don't, what did I do? You know, didn't know what it was, but I knew had a bad connotation to it. So I remember, it's just this one little story. I was like in 3rd grade, and my aunt was living with us at the house, and I was watching Video Soul. Remember Video Soul?
Yep.
And it was her and her little girlfriends. They was watching Boys to Men video, and they was talking about how good the boys look. And I'm 8 years old. I said it too. I'm like, yeah, you know, they look good. You know, yeah, I don't know, right? But I just remember, like a couple of weeks later, I was like playing in my grandma's house, and then, like, I guess they told one of my uncles or something, and they came. I was like, you don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. It was like my world crumbled, and I felt dirty. That was like the first time I knew, like, wait, something ain't. Wait, you know. So even though I didn't know what it was, I always had a bad connotation to it. And like growing up in church, they, you know, if they want an amen and a hallelujah, they'll start talking about Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and, you know, all this stuff. So making you seem like, well, dang, I love the Lord and I do everything I'm supposed to do, but I'm still going to hell because you said I was going to hell. And, you know, you usually sang 3 verses on me, you know, and I think that's what the Black community kind of wrapped in, more so the religious institution of it. And because someone said that it was bad and you're going to hell, that means they can't get on board with it. If that makes any sense. And, you know, people tell you that you know, I love you, but I don't love the sin. And I stop them right there and say, guess what? My life ain't a sin. So either you're gonna love all of me or none of me. And, you know, so everybody doesn't have that type of resolve though. And that's why I wanted to come on here and just, you know, try to see, if whoever's listening, if we could help one person, you know, kind of lean into who they are and try to take control and welcome happiness in, you know.
When we look at TV and the movies, right? And I'll admit, I think you really are starting to see more images of Black men being portrayed as gay or transgender, transsexual. And the prevailing thought is about the emasculation of the Black man. And I do feel some sort of way about how I think more and more of the images of Black men are being portrayed as, you know, gay men, transsexual, because I think that's like, okay, like, yes, that's a part of our community, but that's not everything. And maybe we're trending, maybe we're overcorrecting because before you never really saw it. So maybe there's an overcorrection. But the problem that I have with the idea of emasculating the Black man is I know you and I know my brother and I know like y'all tough as nails, even though y'all may have sex with men, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, yeah, you know, they may not be heterosexual, but you know, that don't mean that they know slouch, or I was about to say punk, but what's another way to say punk? Like, you're not scared. Like, I mean,
say scary. You said they're not scary.
They're not scary.
Yeah, they're not. See, I don't even associate that word with like gay. I just associate
I thought that was interesting too, because I never associated it.
Yeah.
We kind of grew up around the area. They be like, you punk somebody out, like you scared.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess like a prison term, punking somebody out is gay. You know what I mean? But I never really, you know, considered that as.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. So.
Yeah. So okay.
Your Southern or Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas people, they'll get it.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. So I mean, so when you hear that discussion, Dathon, people talk about the Billy Porters and all the other images that we see in the media, how does that make you feel? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think, the Black man is being emasculated with the images that we're seeing?
Sometimes sometimes when I read this, like you go on social media and see, I've never seen P-Valley, and I've never seen, and then I haven't seen this recent episode of Lovecraft Country, but I saw some things that was being said about it, and it's usually
So not to interrupt you, but just to let people know, P-Valley is a show that comes on Stars.
Oh, yeah.
About a strip club, and the owner of the strip club is a man named Uncle Clifford. Uncle Clifford got a full beard, like me and Dathon and laugh, but he also dresses like a woman, and he definitely talks in a feminine way. So, and I haven't finished the series, but there's a young man who obviously is, I don't know if you say he's undercover gay or whatever, and they're having a flirtatious relationship. So obviously, they like men. So that's what they think I was talking about when he's talking about P-Valley. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah. So, do I appreciate the representation on TV? Yes, because guess what? We are here and we do exist. But do I get why some black men or black community feels like it's emasculating a black man? I do, because I know history and I know intergenerational traumas. I know what the black man was emasculated during slavery. I know that the black man was meant, to be viewed as a boy in front of his wife. So I get how those intergenerational traumas and stresses transmit, right? So when you see something like that you perceive to be less of a man, it's gonna trigger you and you're gonna have strong feelings about that. Do I think that that's their purpose? I don't know. But I feel like these are topics, when you see that and you have your daughter or your son or whomever sitting with you, I think this is a time to have a conversation, like to say, this is blah, blah, blah. Or, you know what, I don't understand this. We can look it up, because I can guarantee you that the kids know. I wish people could, really use this as learning opportunities or trying to uncover things that they might not understand. I don't know people's intentions of the inclusion, but I do appreciate the inclusion. And I don't want to dismiss what people are feeling when they feel like, hey, maybe this is emasculation of the black man. But, I think that when we feel that way, we should probably look and see what that's rooted in.
I don't know, man. I think the kids are a little bit more open-minded than we are. And I think we definitely are more open-minded than our parents and the generation before them. I mean, see, you got teenagers like I do. You agree with that? I mean, because I look at my children and, my son, he had one of his homeboys, I don't know if the young man, came out, but I kind of suspected, that he, may go that way. But my son was, I raised him to be a man of honor. And he said, hey man, that's my friend. So whether he determines that he likes other men or not, that's still gonna be my friend. I don't get down that way, but that's my friend. And I respected that. But I think the kids are a little bit more open-minded. What do you think, C?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
It's amazing once you actually kind of get exposed and people, like you said, in your family, and you're like, man, I knew him, that's my cousin, you know what I mean? Or that's my uncle or what have you. And it does, it changes your perspective a lot. And you don't see them as these outcasts or these different types of people. That's your family, and you're gonna love them for through thick and thin, whatever they go through, whatever. It that you see that they're just another person, just like anybody else. Right. I think what was happening was particularly from the male perspective, guys were scared, right? So they're like, I don't want to hang around gay men because they're going to try to turn me out or try to turn me gay, right? So people would say that, but when you think about it, that's coming from the male mentality, because how many times you might try to holler at a woman or something like that, and she says, I'm not interested, but you still keep pressing, you still keep praying. Guys do that over and over and over and over again. And some guys honestly are relentless, and they just assume, I think, that every guy is going to be that way towards them. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of why people would where the fear came from. I don't know.
You can't turn anybody gay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Guys were thinking that they could, but yeah.
I mean, but that's kind of the ignorance that we had, like
exactly.
Because
exactly.
I remember I telling myself, we had a couples massage, me and my wife, we had a couples massage coupon, and the owner, rest in peace, Fred, was a black man, and he had a woman as his partner. So when we went in, I was like, man, I done had a massage with this woman before, and like she ain't really strong enough. And I want to go, and I'm just being vulnerable. I know people are gonna laugh, people probably gonna clown me for this, whatever. But this is the reason why we having this discussion. I was like, hey, if I get on friends table, that'll make me gay, do it. And she was just like, no. And I was like, well, you know, because you in the room, so I'm good, you know, because it's that whole Mel my Chismo thing, you know, and, you know, I got in there, man, all my little kinks, man, you know, Fred worked them out. And then I realized that I'm not attracted to men. So a man can touch me and massage me and do the therapy that I needed, but it don't move me any type of way other than me just getting the therapy from the massage. Right. And that's that type of, you know, growth that you have as a person. I think a lot of men just aren't really there yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think that's with a lot with men, because I don't think women that even crosses our mind at all. Yeah. Like, you know, even if it's like a group of people, like at a bachelorette party and somebody's like a lesbian, you don't be like, oh, let me go change my clothes over here in this room because she's the lesbian. Like, you know, women just don't think like that.
Yeah. I think it's just social, you know, that we're raised to be like Amar said, these machismo people, and, you know, but at the end of the day, it does seem like men are a little bit more sensitive to those sorts of things than women are, right? And, you know, just from my experience, most of my friends are straight. You know, I have gay friends. Trust me, I gotta have my circle, you know, but I'm grateful that that's not even a part of conversation. They're like, how's your partner? Or how, you know, it's just normal, you know, because I'm existing like you're existing. I'm not trying to go like make a move on you. Like, that's a waste of my time. Why would I spend my energy trying to do that? Why would I waste my time trying to make a move on a heterosexual male when I have plenty of prospects that actually are same gender loving, or men who have sex with men? It really make sense. Not to say that people might not do it, right? But you can't really define a population by one person, right? Which people try to do. You know, us as black folks, we know they try to do that to us all the time, right?
You know what? It's actually, it's actually kind of arrogant for a man to think that, would you say MSM man is attracted to them. That's very arrogant for me to think that somebody who's not interested in me or what I'm interested in would be attracted to me. That, I mean, seriously, that's kind of arrogant.
So, Dathan, I mean, I don't know if we really got an answer to the question. Do you think the Black community is more accepting of the LGBTQIA same gender loving community? You think we are?
I would say we're evolving. I'm not gonna say yes or no, but I would say we're evolving, and I do think we have some work to do, because it's not going anywhere, and your family members, your friends, they're not going anywhere. So I think that it's just a process, kind of like what you all have been saying. It's been an evolution, but I think you kind of have to be open to evolve. But I'll just say it's an evolution that's taking place.
I wonder, how do we get people to become more informed and more accepting? Because the problem is that if people think if I'm accepting of that culture or that portion of our community, then I'm somewhat complicit in I'm complicit in it, or people may associate me with, you know, being gay or being a lesbian. So I don't want to even really be a part of it at all, or act like I accept it at all, because I don't want it connected to me. But I wish we could find a way to get people more informed to where they can see that just because I accept people for who they are, it doesn't define me. I just accept how they define themselves.
I mean, I feel like people feel that way. Like, if you're around someone, you know, basically you have some type of insecurity that you're embarrassed or things like that. I think that people just need more exposure and to be around, like you said, family members, friends, be open to that so you can see how people operate, you know. And we come in all different flavors, you know. Just like in any population, you got representation from any type of little subgroup too. So just being open that, hey, don't lead with who I sleep with, just lead with, this is a person that I might want to get to know. And you might not want to know that person, but don't let it be based on that.
Right. Yeah. You know, because one of my people who is gay, they say the same. They said this to me. They were like, I don't ask the husband and wife, are y'all still having sex every night? So I don't understand why I have to talk about my sex life with anybody and how that defines me. So when they said that, it was funny, but it was true.
Yeah.
Very.
It's very true. So,
I think,
I just go ahead.
no, I was saying, I think another piece of it too, like when you're saying the complicit part of it, that some people still think it's a choice, like that I choose to do this and I choose to love who I love, be attracted to who I'm attracted to. When I was having conversations with my mom, as I was going through my coming out process, you know, not no fault of hers, but she thought that too. Like, why would you choose to do this? And I was like, Mom, I would never choose. I was like, honestly, back then, if I could choose to be straight, who wouldn't choose to be straight? It'll be so much easier. I was like, I'm already a black man in America. Now I'm adding gay on top of that. Why would I choose to be ostracized, bullied, and shunned? Like, I would not choose that. But I was like, at this point, though, I'm choosing to be happy, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wish people understand that it's not a choice. We can say it all day because this is my lived experience, but it honestly is not a choice. I don't think the life I live is a great one. Would I choose it again? Probably so, yes. But as a kid, if I could choose and change, I would want to be normal like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, you were what, 8 years old when you first started, like, you didn't even understand like what you were saying, like when they were watching the videos. Yeah. Now, as you got older, did your same aunts and uncles, did they become more accepting?
My whole family is accepting to me, at least to my face. But growing up, like, I'm from a small town, so I didn't even know really. I honestly, and I know that sounds weird. Like, I had those thoughts, but then they would leave, and I wouldn't know anything else. So I thought that I was asexual because Michael Jackson was like my hero, and I was like, maybe I'm like Michael Jackson because I never saw him with a girl. So I was like, maybe I'm like Michael Jackson. And so when I got to college, that's when I started figuring out, like, oh, okay, yeah, you are. But going through that figuring out process, man, it was a warfare. I hated my own self, like, and I became homophobic because I didn't want that piece to be with me. So it would just upset me to see gay happy people walking around, and I finally I had to just sit down and say, you know what, you gay. And now what's next, So
but what's crazy though, it's crazy that you say that. A lot of times when we see the people who are most outspoken against gay and lesbians, somehow, some way it comes out that they get down like that themselves. So you saying that you went through that process, that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but to answer the question, my uncles, aunts, family members, I'm lucky in that regard. I came out three times actually. Okay. To my mom when I was in college, and that was not by choice. And then again when I was 27, I told my dad, and so I'll just share, like, in between times, like I had so much depression, anxiety, just stress because I was leading like this double life, or calling myself leading this double life where, I'm gay where I live, but I'm straight here. And, this and that, and it was just wearing on me. And I actually had to enter therapy. And that was like a lifesaver, honestly. In 2010, I'll share a story, and I don't share this often, but somebody probably need to hear it. I was standing on my balcony, and at this time, I'm established in my career. I'm young in my career. I'm living well, but I'm standing on my balcony, and like this little voice in my head said, "What if you just fell off it?" And then the other little voice like, wait a minute, wait. And at that point, I was like, I gotta get some help. This is not right, So I started going through the process of counseling and therapy. And so, they always dig into your family background. And, I was talking about my dad, and Marvin can attest to this. And they was like, oh, yeah, asking about my parents. I was like, oh, my dad is my best friend, And she was like, oh, does he know you're gay? And I was like, no. And then she was like, well, how's that your best friend if they don't know everything about you? And I was like, huh. So she never told me to tell her, but like this little seed was in the back of my head, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And I couldn't even be comfortable around my daddy until I told him. And so I told him, and at that point in time, my daddy was a deacon. And, he started off with, you don't act like no girl. And I was like, you don't have to act like a girl, you know.
Mm.
And then he was like, well, we'll pray about it. And then he stopped himself and he said, you know what? I'm sure you've been praying about it. He was like, you know what? No, I love you, this and that. And then he started to cry. And then I was crying. I was like, oh Lord, I hurt my daddy. But he was crying because he was like, you had to go through this and suffer through this alone. And I was like, you couldn't have helped me, you know. But I told my dad, and then like 2 years later, or a year or so later, I told the whole family. I told like this one aunt who I knew would tell everybody.
You said you was gonna save time and just tell them you gonna let it go.
And
One phone call.
Like,
That's all
what are
you
they
need.
saying? You know, they're like, I'm like, what are they saying about me? You know, and the thing they said, they was like, he looked too good to be gay. I was like, okay, if that's the only thing you're saying, that's okay. We good.
Fine.
We good. But I never believe in letting nobody tell my story. You know, the lion can't tell a giraffe story. You know, it's an old African proverb. So I never want anybody to be able to think they can tell my story. You know, even in certain organizations I'm in, you know, they reached out, was like, I heard this and that. I was like, it ain't true till I tell you. And then I was like, it's true, so you can believe it. You know, like that. Like, but you know, you train people like that. Yeah. And like when people come down, they'll be like, well, they didn't say it, so you know, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, I think, you know, the reason why I wanted to do this show is because, you know, you heard in the lead in, you know, our mission is to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. And I believe that includes everybody, whether they are men who have sex with men, women who have sex with women, or whatever. I think that we all we got, and we need all hands on deck to fight this racism, this thing that is holding us all down. Because I know when they look at you, cuz they don't look at you as a gay black man, they look at you as a black man. And I know that we need to stand together as a community, and that means we need to accept everybody and recognize that, you know, we are stronger when we're together, and we can't afford to exclude anybody based off something as petty as who they decide to have sex with, you know, because ultimately it's not our business. So I hope that we can continue to progress, and I hope this discussion made it a lot easier, because like I said, you know, you are one of the smartest people I know and one of the toughest people I know, because like you said, I definitely wouldn't want to be gay, because I see the hell that they go through, you know, being talked about and being persecuted. I understand how it is to be talked about and persecuted as a black man, so why would I try to add to that? Right. So hopefully somebody can look at you, look at your resolve, look at your toughness, and say, okay, you know what, I can live my truth. And then other people can say, oh, you know what, that person is relatable. Look at how he gets along with his cousin Marvin. Look how he gets along with other people. And, you know, I should treat my family member with the same level of respect and love, and hold them in the same regard that they hold each other. So I hope that this show did that. I don't know. You know, it's always tough, because you want to handle it with kids' gloves, because, you know, we're on the internet and you don't want to say the wrong thing and people jump all over you. But I just wanted to be authentic. I wanted to be authentic and just say, hey, listen, if I say the wrong word, tell me I said the wrong word. I'm gonna still talk about you, you know what I'm saying, whether you're gay or not, because you know, I was talking about,
right? Human.
Yeah, I said, you don't get no slack just because you have sex with men, but you know, I still want you to know that I love you, that we're gonna protect you. So,
you know, I lead the efforts nationally for my medical organization when it comes to diversity and inclusion. I handle that on the local level here at the university as well. Like, it's a lot of Black gay men or people of any sexual orientation that's out there doing the good work. You know, stop trying to compartmentalize people or take away from the, you know, what they're doing. This doesn't drive me. I'm just a Black man who so happens to be gay. But honestly, like you said, when I step out the door, ain't nobody saying, look at that gay man. They saying, look at that Black man, and I'm a target, right? So we got to do work on both ends, really. So like I said earlier, when it comes to justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, that encompasses a full spectrum of people, but people are multifaceted and can do more than one thing at once.
But here's the issue. So when you look at Black Lives Matter, right? And I don't really associate with Black Lives Matter just because I don't understand it. I don't know who's behind it, whatever. I'm just like, look, I want justice for Black people. But one of the knocks that a lot of people have on it, because they say that there's like three lesbian women who are
At
like the
least,
founders.
yeah, I don't know what they identify as. Yeah, like 3 queer.
Yeah, they're somewhere on the spectrum, and a lot of people don't want to be associated with it because of that. So
I don't
that's
understand that. Yeah,
but well, it's that goodbye. But that's why I think this topic is so important, because by no means, I know it don't need to be said, but I'm purely heterosexual, and I'm not trying to like say, okay, this is not like a gay recruitment show or anything like that. But we do have to break down that mindset, because you are doing the work, and there are going to be people who are saying, like, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to help. I don't want to help them accomplish that goal that's going to make life better for all of us, because that one person may be gay. So that's why we have to do this right now. Yeah. So, but anyway, I think we talked about it enough. Dathan, we appreciate having you on the show. City Lab, as always, this was a good one. So, family, make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. If you want to support the show, click the link to our Patreon. We're asking family to donate $2 a month, just $2 a month. If we get all of our followers to do that, we can continue to provide you a high quality show. And if you want to be an advertiser, please message us, and we'll talk to you about that as well. Peace.
Peace.
Allah.
Rika, keep your head up.
Yeah, no doubt.